Hey guys, it's Phil coming back at you with another video! Today, I'm back, I'm excited, I'm pumped up. Hopefully everyone's doing well, practicing self-care, not letting one thought, one situation, one person take them outside of what they know to be true. You're doubling down, doing the next right thing, and doing everything that you can to become the best possible version of yourself. And I know 39 people did just that, because that's how many people went in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest, and got the job done since my last video. And I know a lot of times people are like, man, I bet these people were all confident and comfortable and ready to get the job done. There were a lot of people on this list that failed multiple times. They were unsure whether what they were doing is right, but they doubled down, did exactly what they thought they knew to be true, and went in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest, and got the job done. And they are as follows: Kianda W, Roberts K, Lisa C, Kiana MB, Erica P, Monica T, Claire G, JF, RDD, Alexandria B, Annette B, Claire C, Shanita A, Giovanna J, Raphael Z, Veronica P, Tusa Han H, Sally A, Tammy S, Lauren B, Vicky M, Satarika W, Danielle D, Tanya C, Jeanette G, Saritha G, B, Jen R, Jeff G, Bridget M, Ileana P, Lizette B, Elizabeth C, Natalie, Elizabeth N, Felisa G.I., Holly G, Simple Gamer, and Stephanie B. And I'm so excited, man, and so mind-blowing how many people have went in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest while rapping and rocking with the Fill in the Gaps community, because it's always amazing for me. Like I said, a lot of people on that list were like, man, Phil, should I even take the exam? I'm not even sure if I should be a social worker anymore, or I don't even know if I should even do what I know, or man, I've heard all these different shortcuts and everything, but it's always amazing for me how many people rep or mock with me, figure out what is the best thing for them to do, trust themselves, get closer to what they know to be true, and they go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. And if you've kicked the exam directly in the chest and got the job done while repping and rocking with me as well, you can send me an email at berda24@gmail.com and let me know, and I'll give you a shout out as well, or comment down below that you went in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest to get the job done, and I'll share your name as well. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate every single one of you guys that reps or mocks with me and allows me to be able to do this, and that have been victorious and have continued to strive and drive to become the best possible version of yourself. And if you're wondering how you can rep and rock with me as well, the easiest way to be able to do so are the Sunday study groups that are at 7 p.m. Eastern time until they kick us out. They can't kick us out. I'm the host, and the time for the sessions typically 3, 4, sometimes 5, 6 hours long, and the length of time for the session can vary based on the information that we're covering, as well as there's a question and answer segment after every single session that I have, so that way you can directly interact with me. Any questions, thoughts, concerns that you have in the next Sunday study groups coming up are as follows: 611, the DSM-5 adults, going over the personality disorders, bipolar 1 versus bipolar 2 disorders, the schizophrenia spectrum, as well as the medications, and not ways to memorize any of them, but be able to recognize and apply them to go in the exam, get directly in the chest, get the job done, and review and practice questions related to those. The next one after that is 618, going over the steps and stages of community organizing, the types of advocacy, and different concepts that you can see related to community, because a lot of times people will get community and all these different things mixed up. That session will review different ways to be able to recognize and apply the concepts related to community, the stages of community organizing, and giving you examples to apply them onto real questions that you can see on the exam. Go in the exam, kick directly in the chest, get the job done. The next one after that is 625, going over practice question, going over the types of questions that you can see on the exam, going over different myths that people spread about the exam, going over the 6-step process that I recommend people to keep in mind as they're breaking down every single question, and then going through practice questions related to different concepts and different things related to application and reasoning question, not going over any recall things, because a lot of times people will be like, all right, well, I get mixed up in between client scenarios and ethical situations. So that session is going to be directly addressing those particular things that you can see on the exam. Go in the exam, get directly in chest to get the job done. The next one after that is 7-9, going over family and group therapy. So Bowen's structural and strategic family therapies, going over the stages of group development, as well as different concepts related to group development, and then going over practice questions related to those. The next one after that is 716, the defense mechanism. So going over the different defense mechanisms that you can potentially see on the exam, and going through examples and different things to help you not memorize anything, but be able to recognize and apply them. Go to the exam, kick it directly in the chest, get the job done, and going over practice questions related to those. The next one after that is acronym and practice questions. So going over the acronym: safety, feelings, assess, avert, educate, advocate, facilitate, and intervene. Different myths that people spread about the exam. the 6-step process that I recommend every single person to keep in mind as they're breaking down the questions. In addition to that, practice questions that are going over application and reasoning questions and identifying different ways to be able to apply the acronym to give you a better idea, not giving you words or keywords to memorize, but giving you actual ideas of the meaning of the answer choice relative to the answer choices to give you a better idea of what you're doing as you're applying the acronym. And the next one after that is 7:30, ethics, and this is going to be going over the code of ethics, different things that people get tripped up based on the code of ethics. In addition to that, subpoena versus court order and referral versus supervision. And as I always say with all of these sessions, do not come into the sessions trying to memorize anything, but come into the sessions with an open mind, trying to identify how you can better break things down. You go in the exam, kick it directly in chest, get the job done. In addition to that, do not come in these sessions expecting to get every single question correct, because the questions that I tend to create and write are more difficult than the ones that you can actually see on the exam. So do not get yourself tripped up and be like, you know what, I need to come into these sessions, get them all right, or I'm not getting as many questions right as I want to, so I should reschedule my exam, etc. Because that's not the point of these sessions. These sessions are identifying ways for you to improve, ways for you to sharpen up what you already know, but also become the best possible version of yourself to go into the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. And if you're not able to attend the sessions live or attend all of these sessions are recorded. So when you register for the session, it will add your name to the email list to receive recording and the materials to review at your own leisure. And if you want any information related to the sessions, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link down below in the description, which is the view more under the title, and you'll go to my calendar and be able to directly register yourself. And I look forward to having as many people that want to rep and rock with me to go into the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done, to attend those sessions. In addition to that, I do still offer individual tutoring sessions, so if you want to directly interact with me, review questions, review your process, review different concepts, it's 100% possible to be able to do so. If you want any information related to that, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link down below in the description, which is the view more under the title. It'll send you right to my calendar, and we'll be able to rep and rock with one another. In addition to that, the next one-day course is going to be tomorrow, 6/10, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time until they kick us out. They can't kick us out. I'm the host, and the one-day course tends to be the most comprehensive and as much information and strategies and techniques and all the different things that I can offer you. So if you're struggling to pass the exam, you're unsure of what you've been doing, your exam's coming up and you're kind of feeling confused and you're feeling beat down and dragged down, the one-day course is what I would recommend for you to get as much as you possibly can to become the best possible version of yourself. To go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. This session should be around 12, 13, potentially 14 hours long, and they all vary depending on the information that we are going to review. There's a question and answer segment at the end of the session. So if you're not able to attend the session or attend all of the session, when you register, you will add your name to the email list to receive the recording and materials to review at your own leisure. And the one-day course has been the most successful thing that I've ever done. One, because it gives you the most amount of time with me, but also a lot of times people are confused. They have a lot of shortcuts. They have a lot of different things that they're confused about. And the one-day course tends to pan those out to allow for yourself to build yourself up, to become the best possible version of yourself. And the one-day course covers the tips that I find most helpful for people to go in mind and keep in mind as we're preparing for the exam and taking the exam. Most common reasons why people fail, but because what better way to become the best possible versions of ourselves than learning from the people that have not been successful, reviewing a handful of topics, subpoena versus court order, operant conditioning, referral versus supervision. We'll be going over the personality disorders, schizophrenia spectrum, bipolar 1 versus bipolar 2 disorders, the medications, going over the acronym, safety, feel, and assess, refer, educate, advocate, facilitate, and intervene, going over the 6-step process that I recommend every single person to keep in mind as they're breaking down the questions. In addition to that, going over 25 practice questions. And as I always say, do not come to these sessions expecting to get all of the questions correct, because these questions tend to be more difficult than any other session that I have, but in addition to that, tend to be more difficult than the ones on the actual exam. So that's why I said if you're struggling, you're unsure what you're doing, or if you want to kind of fill in the gaps of what you've been doing to build yourself up, the one-day course is the easiest way to be able to do that. And if you want any information related to that, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link down below in the description, which is the view more under the title, and you'll be able to rep and rock with me. In addition to that, if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, send me an email, berda24@gmail.com. And for those that do not know, Audible will continue to partner with me on my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at www.audibletrial.com/fillinthegaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial, and signing up for the 30-day free trial is the easiest way that you can support me, and it costs you absolutely nothing. And the Audible is a way to get information on the go. So if you're busy just like me and you still want to become the best possible version of yourself, or if you learn based on audio just like myself, Audible is one easy way to get information on the go to become the best possible version of yourself. Again, if you want to rep and rock with me and support me, go to my Audible affiliate link at www.audibletrial.com/fillinthegap. Sign up for the 30-day free trial or click the link down below that says the Audible free trial. And from the bottom of my heart, appreciate every single one of you guys that have already been doing that. And if you're unsure what book that you should get with your 30-day free trial, there are a couple that I would recommend. The Alchemist, The Archer, UOU, and The Outliers. Each of them have lessons and blessings that can help you progress not just personally, but also professionally to become the best possible version of yourself. In addition to that, if you haven't already, hit the like button down below, which is a thumbs up next to the title. It helps other amazing social workers just like you find my videos as well. And if you are going through something, or if you're looking for encouragement, or you went in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest, and gotten the job done, leave a comment down below because I read every single comment and try to respond to as many as I possibly can. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification next to it, and it'll send you an email every single time that I upload a video similar to this. And if you haven't already, check out my podcast at Fill in the Gaps on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify, and it'll give you additional ways to rep and rock with me. And from the bottom of my heart, appreciate every single one of you guys. It allows me to be able to do this, and that have shared my name or have at any capacity been in the individual tutoring study groups, free study group, listen to my podcast, shared my name at any capacity. It's amazing to me how many people have been repping and rocking with the Fill in the Gaps community, and how many people have won in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest, and gotten the job done, and are living the lives that they want to see for themselves. And a couple of thoughts that I have before I let you guys go is, if you're going through something, or if you're unsure what you should be doing, give yourself the credit and give yourself the grace to make the right decision. And what I mean by that is, anytime that I'm going through something, or any thoughts that I'm experiencing, or any pieces of advice that I implement in my life, I want to bring it to you guys. And for those that you guys that know, like, there's a lot of changes that are coming in my life, and a lot of things that are outside of my control, and just trying to keep it all together is kind of difficult, because my mom is still going through treatments for her cancer. Things are looking up for that. My wife is pregnant, so we're going to have a child in the next coming months. We're looking to buy a house, and a lot of people are still demanding a lot out of me, and I'm trying to balance making videos, doing podcasts, helping people go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest, to get the job done. And it's easy for me to let all those things weigh me down and not see the beauty in them. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when you're going through too many things, you stop recognizing the lessons and blessings each of them possess, because at any capacity, we tend to look at the things that are not going well, or all the mistakes, or all the things that we wish that were different. But we have to always remind ourselves that we have to embrace that what we have and what we've been given, because anything that you've been given, or any opportunity, or any situation that you're going through, is a way for you to get what you need to be, the version that you need to be in the future. So as I'm going through all these things, I keep reminding myself, the way you react to something will determine how you act and when you retry. Because if you look at the word react, separate it out, re means to do something over, act means to simply have some action. So when you react to a situation, how you react is going to determine how your mind is going to tell you, or what influences you have when you retry to do something. To retry something means to do something an additional time, whether that's you having to take the exam again, whether that's you applying to another job, whether that's you being in a situation that you thought that you wouldn't be in, or if there's an unexpected thing in your life that's going on. When you're doing something, I always say it's not what happens to a person, it's how they react. And I always have to remind myself that too, is it's okay to react in ways that you don't have pride in, because it's okay to do things and learn from them and find a different way to find how you need to be doing that. However, a lot of times when people are going through stressful situations, or they're going through a difficult situation, they forget to give themselves the grace. They forget to allow for themselves to get experience, and they forget that if they do something in a way that they don't agree with, it's okay to make a change and an adaptation. It's okay to have a different mindset. It's okay to have a different opinion than you had before, but it's not okay to continue doing the same exact thing that you've been doing, not getting the results that you want, even though you know that what you've been doing is not what you know that you should be doing. And what I mean by that is, we don't want to shut ourselves out of like, man, I have these expectations and all these different things. But if I know in my heart that what I've been doing is not working, whether it's I'm second guessing myself, I'm doing too many programs, I'm listening to too many people, I'm comparing myself to another person, I'm inserting a lot of negativity into my mind, it's okay to have those experiences. Don't get that twisted. It's okay to second guess. It's okay to have negative thoughts. It's okay to do things that you want to experiment with, but it's not okay to continue doing them even though you know that it's not going to be productive and lead you to where you want to go. So a lot of times when people are like, man, Phil, I'm second guessing, it's like, okay, we got to find out why you're doing that. But once we find out why you're doing that and you know a way to change it, you're now making an active decision if you're continuing to do the behavior to not make that decision at some capacity. So it's okay to be in a situation that you're unsure what to do, but the way you react needs to be coming from a lens of curiosity, coming from a lens of, I'm not sure, but I'm willing to find out. It needs to come from a lens of, I don't have full control, but I have control of the things that I can control. I have full bearing of what I'm going to do. And if I do something, I got to take full ownership of what I'm doing. I got to take the full ownership of, I made that decision. It's not that person's fault. It's not this fault. It's not that fault. It's not that fault. But I have to be willing to own what I'm doing, because in order for me to make a change, I have to identify and go to the root of what is making it happen. So that's why I'm telling you is through all these situations, I have to remind myself, I can only expect out of myself what I would expect out of somebody that I care about. And a lot of times when we're in this mode of like, man, I'm accomplished, or I have a lot of knowledge, or I'm successful, if you will, quote unquote, because success is all variable on what you think. You got to measure yourself up to a standard that's actually achievable. I can't be a stoic person all the time. I can't be a machine. I'm not a walking answering machine. I'm not a walking solution finder. I can find solutions, but I'm not a solution to everything. So that's what I'm telling you is, when you're in a situation, react in a way that you would be proud to react in. React in a way that when you do it in an additional time, you have more knowledge and experience. But a lot of times what happens to people is they get into a stressful situation and they shut down. They get into a stressful situation and they continue doing old patterns that have never accomplished anything. They continue to do something even though they know that it's not going to work, for the simple fact that they're unwilling to go through that uncomfortable situation or trudge through that mud. But at the end of the day, don't lose your drive for a challenge. Don't lose your drive for what you're doing. Why you started doing whatever you're doing needs to drive you in that direction. Because if you have a degree, you had a challenge. Unless you just randomly were like, you know what, I just don't even need to write papers. I know everything already. I don't need to struggle, or I've never struggled ever. If you're in that boat, that's okay. But at the end of the day, the majority of us had to struggle to get to where we're at. And the majority of us had to go through a bunch of challenges that we never thought we were going to be able to accomplish. But once we did it, it gave us that experience, so that way when we did something again, we could react over and over and over and over in a more informed decision. But if you've never been informed, or if you're not willing to inform yourself, the decisions and actions you're making are going to be uninformed. And you would never make any of the decisions for another person by just shooting from the hip. So don't lose your passion and drive for a challenge, but don't just challenge yourself to the maximum level without going through the levels that you need to go through in order to get the experience. Because in order to have experience, you must experience something at some capacity. But if you're not willing to take yourself to that space and place, or if you're not willing to give yourself that grace to run the race to become the best possible version of yourself, and you're trying to chameleon yourself, you're trying to template yourself, you're trying to do what somebody else is doing and get the same results that they're getting, that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's only going to take you so far. Because if you're trying to do what somebody else is doing, or if you're trying to do the exact same thing, or you're doing the thing over and over and over and over, but never looking at a way of how to maximize it, or looking at what you have been doing versus what you haven't been doing, or if you've not been looking at ways that you want to continue doing it, you're going to be lost. You're going to be considering all these things, but it's going to drag you down. And that's what I'm telling you, is don't lose your drive, or don't lose your passion for what you wanted to do from the start. Because I talk to people every day that are like, man, Phil, I don't even know if I want to take this test, or man, I don't even know if this is meant for me. And I always say, why are you doing it then? And they're like, well, I have this dream, or I have this goal, or I have this, or this is why it brought me to social work. And it's like, but how often are you thinking about those things? Well, I just don't really think about that because it's not. Well, you have to. You have to remind yourself that what you're doing right now is a product of where you came from. Every single thought, every single reaction, every coping skill, every piece of information is a culmination or a product of what we've been through in the past. The way you talk to people, the way you think, the way you do, the way you respond in a stressful situation, the way you respond in a congratulatory moment is all a product of what you've been shown, what you've done and reinforced, as well as what you naturally know to be true. And that's why I always say, do not let one thought, one situation, one person, or anything take you outside of what you know to be true. Because a lot of people are sacrificing what they know to be true. You're breaking down questions and being like, man, I think it's this, but this other person said this, or this other person said that, or this person back here said this. I don't care what they think. I care what you know to be true. And if you get it wrong, that's okay. Because if you get it wrong, your first question should be, okay, what are some things that I missed? Or what are some things that I thought that led me there? And is that actually in this situation or in the question? And if it is, are there some things that I overlooked? Because no one's perfect. So as you're practicing, you need to be identifying how you can get experience at this moment. So that way, when you get into the actual exam, you're well informed, but have an idea of what you're going to be doing. You're not just shooting from the hip. You're not just going through the motions. You're having the curiosity. You're giving yourself the credit. And even though it's not a comfortable situation, you're still giving yourself the opportunity to get to that level. And as I'm telling you this, you got to remind yourself that your exam is your experience and your process. And even though you've not gotten to where you want to, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be possible. Because where you come from is going to help you identify how you think, what you know, what you don't know, but what do you need in the future? And if you're not asking yourself these questions, that's where you got to start getting into that level of getting into who you are and what you know and understanding who are you. Because a lot of us have just been thinking about goals and thinking about accomplishments. But if you lose your identity in that moment, you're gone. And that's why I always tell people, it's not what you do that makes you who you are. It's who you are while doing it. But if you never find out who you are, guess what? The exam's going to really show you who you are. Because when people fail the exam, everything that you've been trying to hide or everything that you've been trying to do or trying to cover up is going to come out. Because all of your reactions and all of the things and what you're doing is going to be shown in the forefront. It's going to be like, you know what? I beat up on myself when things don't go well. Well, guess what? You fail the exam, you're going to turn into Tyson and be ready to knock yourself out. But you also need to make sure you have to be willing to sit in that moment, understand that you didn't get to where you wanted to yet. But it's been delayed, not denied. You've been through what you've been through to get to where you want to go. But if you just continue just blazering through, never getting things from what you've been doing or never trying to pull from anything, you're going to be left in the same position. So that's why I'm telling you, the way you react will determine how you act when you retry whatever you're trying to do. Separate the word out again. It's a gain. You gain something from everything that you embrace, but you also need to take a lesson and blessing from everything you do in order to get yourself further. Because again, I'm not the most successful person. I'm not the most intelligent person. I'm not the best person. I'm not anything. I'm just an average individual that had a dream and a goal and are repping and rocking with individuals that see something in me that I don't see in myself all the time. And that's why I'm saying I'm just an average dude trying to do something great. But what makes it great is that people are becoming the best possible versions of themselves and they're continuing to do the next right thing and improve in the field. It has nothing to do with me. It has 100% to do with the reason of why I started doing this. And why I started doing this is I didn't want people that experienced what I went through of not being the smartest person, not having the most access to resources, not having all of these different things, or individuals that think differently, such as myself, to get to that next level. Because a lot of times people will talk about strategies and techniques, but they're just leaving out the main factor of whether you're going to pass or fail the exam, which was when you're in a stressful situation, how are you going to respond or how you're going to react? Or if you fail, you need to be willing to identify and hear from other people that have failed as well. So that's my push, is to understand your experience, get as much as you can from that experience, understand what you may be missing or what you're not giving yourself credit for. What are you not celebrating? What are you not letting go of? But also, who do you think that you are at this moment? And if you are not giving yourself as much credit as you should, you need to give yourself that credit and give yourself that affirmation and confirmation and start throwing yourself a party, because who you are right now is the best version you can be. Tomorrow you can have a better version. But if you do nothing different today and just do tomorrow the same way that you're doing today, you are not going to be a different person, because you're going to go through the different situations through other people, but you're going to still doing the same thing. So that's what I'm telling you is if you're in that mode of like, man, I'm going to do all these different shortcuts. I have all these things. Man, I ain't got to study that hard. Or man, I'm going to overstudy. I'm going to burn myself down. Or man, I'm going to go in the exam with these first, next, best, most, and should, feelings, gather information, reading the last sentence, doing this, doing that, and all these different things. And it hasn't been working for you. Then why continue to do something that is not working? Why to continue to do something that's ineffective if you know there's a more effective way. So that's my push for you. It's not what you're going through right now. It's how you're reacting. But when you are reacting, what are you getting from your reaction? Is it helping you progress to become a different version? Is it helping you become a different person? Is it helping you allowing for other people to get to that next level? And if not, what is your goal? What is your mission? What's the end result? Is it to be the same person and just never have to change at all? And if that's it, I got some tough news for you. In order for you to get to where you want to go, you have to let go who you once were in order to make room for what you need in order to become who you're supposed to be. So that's my push for you, is understand how you're reacting, but don't lose your passion for a challenge. Because if you're in that mode of like, you know what, I'm getting too many things wrong, I'm ready to pack up and run, what are you running from? You're running from your success. You're running from what you want to see just because you're telling yourself it's not going to work out. Because if you don't actually tell yourself that you can get it done, but if you aren't doing the things that you need to in order to make it possible for you to get it done, there's a difference between saying, I'm going to do something and I'm going to say I'm doing something, but I'm doing things in the background to make it possible. So that's my push, is understand that there are some things that you're doing right now that you may have to let go of, but there are some things that are missing right now that you have to add in order to become a different version of yourself. So that's what I'm telling you, is even if you're going through a tough situation or you failed the exam or you're not sure if what you're doing is right, think about it, reflect. Don't deflect. Reflect and understand, what do I have? What don't I have? What are some things that I know that I need to be doing? What are some things that I know I need to let go of and not do? Or what are some tendencies that are dragging me down? Am I comparing myself to my coworker, supervisor, a program, or any of these other people? And if that's the case, just let it go. Because in order for you to make space and get into the spaces and places that you deserve to be, you have to let go of and cut ties with the lies you've been living in and embrace where you're at right now in order to become who you're supposed to be. So continue doing the next right thing. Continue building yourself up. Continue doing everything that you know to be true to get to that next level. And I hope that was helpful for at least one person. And if you need anything from me, drop me a shout, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. From the bottom of my heart, appreciate every single one of you guys. I love you guys. You need anything, 100%, drop me a shout. I hope to see you in the individual tutoring, Sunday study groups, the one-day course, anything at any capacity. If I could be helpful in any way, please, I will try my best to do everything that I can to allow for you to become the best possible version of yourself. And as you're going through this, do not let one thought, one situation, or one person, one program, or anything take you outside of what you know to be true. If you're doubting whether you should go in the exam, the only way to find out is to do it anyway. The only way to get to where you need to go is to try. But if you never try, you'll never know. You'll always be wondering, you know what could have been? The only way to find out what could be and what could have been is to do it right now. Just do it anyway, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's what you're not wanting to see. You failed the test, that's okay. Why? Because if you're in that situation, you need to analyze it, dissect it, understand what can you do in the future to get to where you want to go. So that's what I'm telling you. Do never, ever let one thought, one situation, one person, or anything take you outside of what you know to be true, including yourself. Because everything that you've been through in the past and everything you're going through right now is what is needed to get to where you want to go. And at that moment, you have to identify the value in what you're doing. Because a lot of us, what we're doing is what we don't think is valuable, or what we are doing is we don't appreciate it as much as we did when we first started. But you have to remind yourself why you first started and why it's important to you, and never letting anything get in your way, because it may be delayed, but it's not denied. But if you continue to deny yourself and never try and allow for your dreams to die, you'll continue to always wonder what could have been. So from the bottom of my heart, appreciate every single one of you guys. If you need anything, drop me a shout. Send me an email, berda24@gmail.com. I love every single one of you guys. And if you need anything, like I said, drop me a shout. I'll try my best. And I'm getting out of here, guys. The rest of this video is me interacting with people that win the exam, kicked it directly in the chest to get the job done, people that failed the exam. And I'm getting out of here. I'll see you guys in the next one. And continue doing the next right thing for yourself. Continue growing. Continue becoming everything that you need to be. I'm getting out of here. I love every single one of you guys. And peace out, guys. Second time taking it. Exam scheduled for April 5th. I'm 16 years post-grad school, where I was 32.
Actually, it's kind of funny because the way that I got into the MSW program, I never thought, I only wanted to do early intervention. I was never interested in being licensed. And so much has happened in 16 years. So here I am getting ready to take the test the second time. And I'm super excited. I wasn't even nervous the first time. I think I just didn't go in with the strategy. So now I have a strategy. I've been working, with acronyms and things of that nature. So I feel much better going into it. And I don't I feel a little bit nervous, but more excited than anything. I'm still not sure about research. That's the one that keeps on tripping me up. I did take your research back in September, so I have been watching that, but it's funny because all the other questions that I've been getting have been completely opposite. So I'm trying to have humor with that, going, well, I guess I just need to look at that again and see what's going on. I don't know. So that's sort of where I'm at.
And what do you think is needed to walk in on the second time and make it a pass? Like, what do you think are things that you can tangibly grab onto?
I think definitely using the whiteboard more, utilizing that for sure, just getting stuff off my brain instead of storing it inside, thinking, oh, like I know it. And then, you get to the question, you're like, do I know it? Maybe I don't know it. But being able to, because I'm a more visual learner too, to look at that saying, yeah, because I walked in and I knew it because I wrote it on the whiteboard. So there you go. Like there's my evidence right there.
And what do you think would be helpful to put on the whiteboard of like, if you're like, these are the topics that I need, or these are the reminders that I want to see, what would that look like?
Yeah, there'll definitely be the acronyms. And then I did find something that was very helpful for the research. So I'm going to put that on there. And then, I have a couple other pieces that I want to put down, a couple of the drugs that I want to put down that I keep on kind of tripping on a little bit, just to know that like I have it. I'm not going to second guess it. Like that's it. I'm done.
And what do you think you can do to hold it all together prior to your exam? So like piece it all together. Now that you have the pieces, how do you put Frankenstein together and slam the electricity on?
Yeah, just at this point, it's really just being repetitive. Every time I go to study, I write everything down, and just keep that momentum going, and then give myself credit. I know I've I've had to just focus, cutting off Facebook and doing all those extra things, just saying like I have to study, like this is it. So keeping that up and celebrating, like tomorrow going kayaking. We have a big Easter / my son is turning 21 birthday party next week. So I'm super stoked to do that. So little goals in between, just a little balance, I think.
So it's not even you focusing on areas on the exam, it's you focusing and getting your self-care together.
Oh yeah, that's very important. There, absolutely.
And I think that's a good indicator that you have to remind yourself when that doubt comes in, because being like a week out tends to blow people's mind. I don't understand why it is. And it used to be my unpublished theory
Yeah,
of that it's just not being able to conceptualize you succeeding, because it's hard for us to visualize us succeeding when we put so much into it. It's easier for us to doubt and pull our chips out of the ring before we even see the result.
that is true. I had to book the test, which is fine, to 2 hours out. So I did this the first time too. I got a hotel, even though that's like 45 minutes away, but I just wanted to be completely different, and give myself that extra time in the morning and just be there.
I think that's a good plan, and just sticking with that, because the more predictable and comfortable you are with what is happening, the easier it is for you to stay in that rational mindset.
Yeah. And I will say, I have a good support system. I cut everybody off that was just not as supportive or understanding. And I had to just do that for now. I'm like, I'm just totally focused. That was hard.
And it's good to set boundaries. And even if, like you said, it's temporary, I'll hit the pause button when I can emotionally invest back into those situations, even if they're not mutual. It's okay. It's like not forever. It's I need to do this for now and then sacrifice for myself. And then if I choose to in the future, unlock those potentially unhealthy situations. But if not, just keep it to the wayside, because I have way more things going on my side and that I can't keep dragging people along.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's it.
All right. Well, if you need anything, just let me know, but just let me know that you passed your exam and we'll go from
Dude,
there.
I can't wait. My cohort was on here, and he just left, but I'm super psyched for him too. Like we're doing this together. We're in it together. Keep telling him that. We'll celebrate when we both pass. Right there.
And that's the greatest thing, is when you have that positive environment and are cultivating other people's success and as well as investing in your own, mutuality is the greatest thing that you could ever
Yeah.
have.
Yes. Agreed. I appreciate everybody telling their stories, especially those who have been, like me, 16 years out, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I was doing the DSM-4 when I was in graduate school, and I was like, oh my God, I get to learn all this stuff all over again. So I appreciate that so much from everybody. It helps.
Take care, be safe, and kill it.
Yes, doing it.
I've been out of social work for 7 years due to illness. I'm attempting to come back part-time, but this will be my first time for the LCSW. I'm feeling overwhelmed and unsure of myself because I've been out for so long. I test in July.
Hi there. Sure, I will.
How's it going? How's it going?
I'm great. Thank you. It's so good to finally talk to you. I've been really blessed by your videos, and, didn't even really think I could come back to this until I started watching your videos, where I just really need to believe in myself. But I've been in mental health since 1997, since I was 17 years old. So I've had a lot of exposure to the field, graduated in 2009 with my master's, and practiced until 2014, until I got very ill. I was so ill I couldn't care for myself anymore. I needed help with my ADLs. I was on a walker, and I'm on a cane now, but I had just given up and didn't even think of taking care of my LMSW license. I was going to take my LCSW, but I still had my LMSW at the time, so I just let it lapse, just thinking I could never go back into the field again. But here, 7 years later, I've worked really hard on rehabilitation and getting myself, better, to where my doctor finally wrote that I could return to work for 15 hours a week. So I'm really, really excited. And I just feel like I got this, I don't know why, I just keep feeling I got one shot at this test because I've been out so long, and I keep hearing everybody saying how they're taking it. You can take it again if they approve it. But I'm just worried. I'm just worried that I don't have what it takes. And, when I was in the field last, we were using DSM-4. And so I think, just the intimidation of having to learn something new has really gotten me. But I think that listening to your videos and what everybody was saying today has just really, really inspired me. I think that my biggest point after listening to everybody today is just that I don't believe in myself enough. And I think that's what I really need to work on, because what I keep telling myself is it's a test, and any test can be passed. It's the content that I need to learn and learn how to apply it, but I think that I've just put myself in this little bubble, being ill for so long, and everything has been such an accomplishment. Just walking upstairs again has been such an accomplishment. So I'm just really nervous I'm not going to make it on this test. I'm just being honest.
So let me get this right. 7 years ago, you weren't able to take care of your own ADLs. You were on a walker. It was difficult for you to get mobile. You've grinded for 7 years, gotten your self back functional, are able to work again, and you're afraid of a test.
Yes, it sounds silly, doesn't it?
No. I think it's stunning to me, because you've started at such a point and have progressed, and it's wild. It's wild to me that you went from like a very difficult point, put everything you had into it, and succeeded. And this exam is getting you tripped up, when your own story is a testament of anything that gets put in front of you, you're not going to stop.
I didn't look at it that way.
Like, as if somebody was like, yo, I wasn't even able to walk. Well, let's not even start at that point. I used to do everything, and then it was taken from me, but I didn't give up. And I put everything I had, everything on the line for 7 years to even get this opportunity. And I'm afraid that if I get the opportunity, I can't succeed. What would you tell them?
I would tell them you can do this. If you've overcome even physical limitations, you can overcome something that's mental. You can do it.
And that's why it's not like, why don't you view that? But I think what you went through is mental as well.
Yes. I had to grieve my whole life. I grieved everything. I wasn't able to have children or a family or anything. So this means a lot. This test means a lot. It's like getting my life back.
And that's where you got to remind yourself is you never lost your life.
That's true.
It just rechanged, and it changed to something that you may not have wanted, but now that you're glad that you have it.
Right, right. And I still have to do a lot of management physically, but that's another part that I've been working on myself. Like I have the whole week planned out for that week just to make sure that I don't do anything to exacerbate any physical symptoms, including stress can exacerbate physical symptoms. So I think part of me scared of maintaining because I've done so well, but I think I just really need to focus and just take it slow it down and not overwhelm myself, in creating something that might not even be there.
And that's where I always say this. In order to have experience, you must have experienced. And that's where you can channel what you went through these past 7 years into this exam of I didn't get the ability or get all of the things that I've gotten in 10 seconds. I had to put in effort. I had to grind. I had to go through it. And I may have to do the same thing with this exam, but I will not give up. I will go at my own pace and I will see what other people have done, but what they're doing is not what I was supposed to be doing. I need to be doing 100% what I believe is right for me. And if stress is a trigger for me, I will study to the point of where stress is going to be minimal, and that may require me to go slower than other people.
Exactly. Okay.
And you can do this. I know you can. And I don't know how long you've been repping and rocking or all the stuff that you've been like listening to of mine, but my story's along the same lines. I didn't have any physical limitations, but I should not be in the position that I'm in. I shouldn't.
Mm,
Because where people like I don't come from the greatest situation. And I think that's hard. When you've been through something and then you get a challenge and it challenges you. And what I
yeah.
mean by that is I was physically and emotionally abused for the majority of my life. And a teacher was like, I think you could go to college. Where I come from, people don't go to the college. They work in a factory and that's it. That's the only option. And that's all I'm exposed to. When a teacher was like, yo, I think you can do this. And this is the same class. This is the wildest thing is English is still a struggle of mine. But when I read the word peasant, I said pheasant and people thought I was joking. And this teacher looked at me in the eyes and said, I think you can go to college. Before that point, I didn't even know college is an option. So when I got to college, I went to the same college that she did because I thought if someone can have faith like that in me, what did that school teach her so I can do the same thing? And then I didn't know you had to write papers in college because, again, no one in my family's ever been to college. So then every single day I went to the writing center and had them teach me how to write every day. Every single day for the first year of my education. But every single time I would see similar people. I would see the same people and I would say, I talked to you yesterday. I need to talk to this other person because I know how you write, but I don't know how this other person writes. And you've already made the edits. So I would undo the edits that they did on the paper in order to help me understand what I did not understand. And then people in my class, I wasn't like, man, what are they going to think of me? I would be the person in class that's like, I have no freaking clue what's going on. Help me understand, please. Like, I remember one time somebody was like, man, isn't that an interesting vignette? I was like, what the heck's a vignette? Everyone looked at me like, you don't know what a vignette is? Apparently it's a different word for a scenario. But that's where I always say you have to have experience in order to experience. I still have negative thoughts like, yo, you aren't going to say the right thing. Like, no one is going to listen to you. Like, this could all end today. But I always have to challenge that thought of you're not going to ever be anything because I heard it for so long. I heard it way too many times like, man, you're not going to succeed or man, you don't have everything that you need. But that's why whenever I hear somebody say like, man, I don't think I can do this, or people are telling me that I can't, I just go to a place. And that's where you have to take yourself as I do not have the same thing that everyone else has, but I've been given the experience and knowledge and techniques and environments that I need to be in order to get there. So
Thank
that's
you.
why I was like, man, you've been through so much in these past 7 years, but don't let it be for nothing. Take those
Exactly.
things that you've been through and say, This exam is simply me being able to walk again. How did I get myself to walk again? I put it in every single day and practiced, and I didn't succeed, but I have to keep going, because as long as I keep putting in effort, I will get there. It may not be on the same timeline as everyone else. It may not be where I thought I would be, but this is my dream and my goal, and I have to start there, and I may regress. I may have to take some time off of studying, but I will be damned if I stop, because if I stop, I have failed. That is the only time that you will fail, is when you stop.
Okay.
So
Okay, thank you so much. You've been so inspiring to me, Phil. I just have to tell you, you really, really encouraged me. And even when you put into perspective of I've overcome this, even physically, and I'm letting a test like really influence the way that I'm going to feel. But I think that as I keep on just listening to your videos, I just found you a couple of weeks ago. So I've listened to several of your videos, but I know you have a lot of them. So I think as I keep on doing that, and I might reach out for some personal tutoring as well. I just really have been encouraged by everybody's stories and everything that you've said. And I just want to thank you.
it is my pleasure. And something I would push you is to get inspired by your own.
Okay,
And that
thank
may
you.
sound weird, but every other person that just heard your story was like, whoa.
Wow, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone who commented.
Just keep believing.
Okay, thank you.
It's my pleasure. I've taken the exam 4 times and missed it by 1, 2, 6, and 2 points. What am I missing?
Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, like I said, I've taken it 4 times, and I don't know. I've used your method before in the past, and there's a couple things I struggled with, but the biggest thing is just like I just not good at taking tests and never really have been. In high school, never thought I'd go to college because that's why I went into the military. College was never really in my future, but graduated, went to the military, did 8 years, got out. And, college is free for people that serve in the military after. So I was like, yeah, why not? Just get a business degree and work at the job that I was working at when I got out of the military. So, and then I started working for the VA and working with other veterans and stuff. So never really thought I'd be doing become a social worker. You know, I work with combat vets. That's what I do for a job. You know, but yeah, school was never my strong suit, and I never really took tests. So to me, like I would rather miss it by 20 points than by 2, because it just I don't know, I think it's a mental thing, really. So I just don't really know what else I can do to help. I mean, I think I grasp like trying to answer the questions, but at the same time, I still feel like I struggle with trying to break it down and really get to the root of like people have said before, like I get down to 2 questions and I'm like, I talk myself out of it or not really sure. So, so yeah, it's just I don't really know kind of where to go, so to speak.
So what do you think it is? What do you think causes you to second guess yourself?
Probably just a confidence thing, to be perfectly honest. You know, it's like, oh, you got so close, but yet you weren't good enough to pass it. You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, I wish I just missed about like 20 points, because then it's like, well, I know I need to work on all this stuff rather than like what I really need to work on, like what little minor section. But that's the thing, this test is so different every time you take it. You can't just focus on like one little section that you didn't do so good in, because that there might not be that many questions that they could be totally different in another section that you might not do as well in. So it's kind of a mind you know screw, so to speak.
I think the biggest thing is reshifting where you're at. And I know it may sound weird, but for you to say you'd rather fail by 20 versus a couple of points, you almost have to realize what failing by 20 would look like.
Well, I mean, I think I say that because it's like then I kind of know I need to study like multiple things rather than just like what little specific area do I need to focus on, because then when you do that, then you kind of get in your own head, and then you maybe not, at least for me, I don't focus on other areas, and then maybe I don't feel as confident when I'm actually in the exam, with questions that fall within those areas. So, because like the last 2 times I took it, like I did really good in some areas, and then the next test I missed questions in like areas that I did really well in the time before. So it's just, I don't know, it's just frustrating to begin with.
So my biggest recommendation is to stop looking at the exam in sections and look at it from a global perspective.
That's why I think I need to like really hone in on the ability to like break down the question and not necessarily focus on, what area the question is coming from. If that makes sense. Like obviously you need to focus on like the setting and things of that nature, but I mean like, oh, this is an ethics section question, I, like try not to focus on like which category it's being generated from, just more like what the actual question's asking. And that's kind of been a challenge. So like I've done an individual with you. This was before COVID. Then I've done a group, and one of the challenges that I had when like using the acronym was like, well, how do I even know that's an intervene? And you're like, oh, well, because of this, and like, well, how do I know this is that? That's like one of the areas that I struggle with using the acronym. So I didn't even use the acronym last time, and I missed it by 2. So that's just kind of like my thing. I feel like I'm rambling. My apologies.
No, that's okay. So I guess what would be your consistent process? Like if we had to boil it down and say, all right, so I've gone at this 4 times. This is my 5th time. What would be my process and how can I bring it all together?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I didn't use the acronym last time. And, I've been using like TDC is one of the programs I've used. And then in your program is the 2 things that I've kind of utilized as far as like a system, so to speak. But I mean, there's components, I mean, outside of the acronym, but there's still components to your method that are very beneficial, like still breaking down the question. That's a method in itself, right? So even without utilizing the acronym. So I've been trying to like I still use those components that you kind of talk about. But last time I didn't really use the acronym just because acronym is only applicable for certain type of questions, right? Like applications. So like I don't want to get wrapped in the head and start over analyzing the questions like, well, is this really an application or is this, you know, like so I kind of eliminated the acronym for the last exam that I took.
And that's okay. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you.
It's not that it doesn't work. It's just more of like I don't want to get in my head and like trying to determine like if the acronym is applicable for this question, right? So because sometimes it's not applicable. You can't utilize the acronym in certain types of questions.
And what I mean by working, I just mean like being consistent and cohesive with what you need. If it's going to cause you to overthink or second guess more so than in its absence, then cutting it off is probably the best move. But identifying, and it's the wildest part for me to be helping people this close to passing. And I say that because you almost have to do the same exact thing as you did last time or the previous times and not jump from strategy to strategy to strategy, but bring it all together and say, there's nothing I did wrong on this attempt. And I have to walk in and do the same exact thing as I did last time because the questions will change, but I will not. I need to stay consistent because if you're trying to jump and change your strategy every attempt, the questions change and your comfortability around what the way you break down the questions is not going to be as comfortable as if you did the same strategy 4 times in a row.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the very first time I took it, I missed it by 1 point. I just graduated, and then I don't know. I am a procrastinator, so I didn't study for like a year, and then I took it, and then I left the social work, and I worked for the Navy doing research, and then I came back to social work just because I love what I do, working with other vets and stuff. So, but it's just I don't know. I think it kind of took the wind out of my sails, being so close, but you know, I, and that's why I bring up the whole 20 points, 10 points, whatever. It's just such a mind. It just messes with my mind. The fact that I was so close. You know what I mean?
And what do you think you could do to get yourself back motivated and pumped up to take it?
I mean, I'm study obviously. I'm taking it in like on the 5th, so I have like just over a week or so. So just trying to take time to study. And but that's the thing, like I don't want to like I feel like I know a lot of it. So I'm like, I don't want to overstudy, because then I'm just creating a situation like stress and pressure. So I don't really know, to be perfectly honest. I'm just gonna go in there and see what happens. So
So with the time that you have left, what I would recommend doing, because you're right, you know a lot of it, you know the majority of it, is I would pick a handful of questions, break them down just to make sure your process works for you and that there's no things standing in your way. And then leading up, you'll have some repetitions with the process that you plan to do. So that way, when you're in the exam, you're 100% who you are and have kind of that fallback of, this is what I plan to do. And if I step away by second guessing or adding things to the question that are not there, I'm going to have less favorable results than if I were to stay true to what I said I was going to do.
yeah, I mean I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't want to study a ton of content. I just want to do practice questions. I mean, that's kind of where I kind of like focus on, and then I'll skim over like recall stuff that you need to know, like medications and diagnosis and stuff like that. But that's kind of where I feel like I need to focus the most, is just repetition and questions. Like, so that's kind of the plan for the next week or so. Is just going through questions and not necessarily, I'm gonna focus more on the process than I am like the actual question, because I think that's the biggest thing with this exam. It's more about like knowing how to answer the question than it is knowing the answer to the question. So
And knowing less is more. Like at this point, less is more, meaning the least amount of information and effort that you need to walk in is better. Because if you come in with a lot of energy or a lot of thoughts or a lot of situations, energy as in the fact like your mind's going 1,000 miles an hour and you're wanting to bring in a ton of things, having the least amount can make it less cumbersome and allow for you to be able to focus more.
yeah, and that's the thing, like, because I'm doing the LCSW, and this is where I kind of get mad at myself, but uh I have to be licensed, by a certain time. So, and I'm just creating like stress for myself, and it's like, you know, so it's just, I think that's added pressure, so to speak. So, which is fine. It's like whatever. If I lose my job, I lose my job. You know, um, I have other means to support myself, but yeah, I mean, I the biggest thing is I love what I do, so I don't want to like not be able to work with my clients and my guys that I work with. So yeah, I think that's kind of creating some underlining pressure, so to speak.
And I think delegating that thought of like, man, I may not do this and I may have all of these things happen, say, I'm going to put those on the background because worst case scenario, I do lose the job, but it doesn't mean it's lost forever. I can come back.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I left this social. Well, there's other reasons too, personal, but when I left the VA to work for the Navy, I think in my mind, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, well, then I don't have to worry about taking that stupid test anymore, because I'm not even practicing anymore, right? So that's when I took like 2 years off, and I didn't really do anything. So, but it is what it is. So it all work out, whatever the outcome is. But
And I think you
it's
can do
something I
this.
want to do though, because I want to be able to continue to serve, my fellow vets. So
And you can do this. You know you can. It's just the uncertainty that comes with this being this close to the exam is there, and entertaining and saying the previous attempts aren't this one, and I have everything that I need because I was close. And as long as I avoid the cardinal sins of second guessing, change my answers, overthinking, adding things that are not there, or even telling myself that I can't do it or getting distracted, you'll be in a better position.
yeah, I think that's one of the things like I've been working on. It's kind of funny saying it, but every time I've taken the test, like not to really like change answers, like and this last time I took it, I only changed like a few, but I think next time I take it, I don't think I'm gonna really change any. Like I'm gonna answer the best that I think it is. I might flag it, I'll go back to it, but I don't think I'll actually change it. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really trust myself, so I probably won't even go back to it.
And that's okay. Knowing yourself, and like I was saying, it's like what works for somebody is not going to work for everybody, but knowing yourself, because when I went back and checked my flagged ones, I told myself, you will not change this unless you see something in the question. But if I wasn't able to hold myself to that standard, I probably wouldn't have looked at it, because I would have got stuck in the heat of the moment, been riled and dialed, and then walked outside and been like, yep, every time that you've changed an answer, every time you've not gone with your first answer on exams, you've wanted to get into a tussle with the professor for the point back. You can't do that here. Reminding yourself that here's the lessons from the previous exams, and I have to take them with me.
Yeah, and that's where I think, and I'll shut up after this. That's where I think like the confidence factor comes in, because like if you don't feel specifically confident about a particular question, that's when, at least for me, like that's when my like second guessing and stuff comes in. And then, you know, I allow that to enter the equation, so to speak. And I really got to be more mindful of that. So
And every time you're answering a question, this may be helpful, is just telling yourself, I may not know the answer right away, but the answer's on the page, and that's it.
yeah,
And I'm going to bag it, tag it, move on.
cool.
And
Yeah,
reminding
so
yourself,
that's
like,
where I'm at.
well, and also reminding yourself, like, it's okay to get things wrong, and I'm all right. And I'm just going to give it my best shot, because if I can walk out with my head held high and saying I did everything that I could, I will move on. But if I do not do everything that I thought I was going to do and flip the script on myself, I will not be able to have my head high. I'll have it low, and I will be beating up on myself because I didn't trust myself enough to get it done.
Yeah, I've experienced far worse, so it's all good. I mean, I look at the bigger picture. So
You can do this, my friend.
cool, thanks, appreciate it.
Take care, be safe, kill it. Let me know how it goes.